Hey, it's Ole, and I am back at my residence in Russell House, and we just came from the DC school, damage control school, and we finished our firefighting phase. So it's a pretty interesting phase, pretty tired after all that. We learned a lot about firefighting, and these are some things that I would never have known if I hadn't joined the Navy and taken this course, because this is part of our NETP, our Naval Environmental Training program. And we did, let's see, the first 2 days were just PowerPoints, introductions. Second day was fall arrest, so what to do in case you fall, and like the safety measures with it, such as wearing a harness. And then we did some CBRN. We did CBRN during our basic training, our boot camp. So this is just like a small refresher with just PowerPoints. And then we had these 4 days of fire, and man, it was just first 2 days did PowerPoints, got the gear, introduced to all the stuff we had to wear, like the boots, the pants, the jackets, the mask. We did like a fitting test for that. So like the firefighting mask, the Draeger bottles for oxygen tanks, and like how to set that all up. And we learned about how to do like all the checks, because it's very important that you make sure everything is checked, make sure everything is ready, because when it's time to actually respond to a situation, you want to be ready, you want to be quick, right? And so I'm sure you know that like firefighters, they have to be really quick to dress up. And so one of the instructors did it, and of course a lot of these instructors are very knowledgeable, they have experience. A lot of them have real experience fighting fires on ships. Like one of our instructors was on the HMCS Protector when that fire went down. It was a pretty bad fire. The instructors, he dressed up in 90 seconds. 90 seconds, that's it. And I don't even think that's as fast as he probably could go faster. Our standard was 6 minutes. So big difference in terms of that. But it definitely just comes with practice. You just keep on practicing, getting acquainted with all the equipment, and just like seeing how dangerous a fire was. Like on the first day, they were practicing helicopter fires. And so they're like, you want to go see that? Sure. We go down to the back where they have like a mock helicopter sitting there, and they light that up, and they got a team just attacking that fire. And we were up against the building, which was, let's say, 25 meters, 30 meters away from the actual like burning helicopter, and you could just feel the heat. You'd feel the heat in your face, like intense. It's intense. So just imagine like how being close to that, how hot that is. Just seeing that woke me up to how like dangerous and how hot a fire really is. And there's also not only the fire, but just dealing with smoke, because smoke inhalation is a very serious thing. Heat exhaustion, if you're in that fire for too long, or fighting that fire too long, or steam, if you put down too much water, the steam in the room can like actually burn you, or like the water droplets can burn you if they're too heavy and they start falling. First 2 days we got to put out this small fire, so it was like teams of 2. You go up to the door, you're like you have to be on the hinge side of the door, and then you like crack the door, and cracking the door. It's a lot of communication between the two. So we had the air water extinguisher, one person, and then the CO2 extinguisher for the other person. And so we got to like switch out on that, and we just fought like a small fire. And you gotta be kind of aggressive. If the fire is aggressive, you just gotta match that. You gotta go up to the fire, try to spray it down with the CO2 canister and the air water. You think that every fire is like a CO2, but actually in reality, let's say you have a fire at home, you never want to just spray it with a CO2 canister, which is the red one, because that will only extinguish the surface flames. You actually got to take water and do something called an overhaul. Once you've extinguished the initial like flames, you have to like go through the embers, move them around, right? Make sure none of them are burning, and just dump loads of water on that. So make sure that the fire doesn't reflash. Something I didn't know. We practiced doing dressing drills with all the gear, and everything. It was so hot in that gear, especially our room, not much ventilation, no AC. We later got some fans, but it was just so hot putting on all that gear, and the amount of sweat I had throughout these days. Like, I've been taking a shower like every single day, making sure I'm clean. And right now I am like, I was drenched, and now I'm a bit more dry, but it's still like, it's uncomfortable with, you know, all that sweat, because you're just like inside that suit, and like, sometimes it feels like there's just no escape from that suit. And but then you just mentally just gotta not think about it. We went in there, we learned how to fight fires, like through door fire, down ladder, up ladder fires. And it's very different from civilian firefighting, because on ship we only have such a confined space, and also our water, we gotta make sure to watch our water, the water we use, because if we put too much water into space, that could cause the ship to destabilize and start listing and rolling, and it's more prone to like shifting, and that would definitely affect us. Yeah, so we did like drills on that. The instructors were really good, and they were really knowledgeable, and they were there to help us make sure, correct our mistakes. And yeah, they were just like good instructors overall, and you could see that they knew what they were doing. So that's a good thing. And so we did all the checks gear and everything. And I think this might be the first time I've breathed pure oxygen from an oxygen tank. I don't think I've used an oxygen tank before, so yeah. Anyone who's done scuba diving has probably used oxygen tanks, right? But for me, this was the first time, and it's heavy. The gear is heavy with the jacket, and you put on the oxygen tank. You gotta make sure your straps are done well. You gotta make sure nothing's like hurt. Yeah, all this stuff. It's heavy. It's a lot on your back and shoulders. So you gotta make sure you're as comfortable as you can make it. And yeah, just try to take the time. Don't rush putting on the gear. Take the time to actually put on the gear, so that when you go in, there's no problems, no leaks in your air mask, nothing that's caught on other things, so that you can't like, because if you go in and there's smoke, and let's say like something happens, your oxygen tank is fails, or your mask fails, you're gonna panic. You're just gonna panic. Like one time I forgot to turn on my oxygen, and I put on the mask, and I was like, I can't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And so I realized, oh yeah, there's oxygen. So I got a little bit panicking, but you stay calm, just conserve your breath. Took out the respirator, refresher, open my oxygen tank. Yeah, you can definitely like just panic, you know, and just lose yourself in those kind of moments. But just stay calm and remember what you were trained to do. And so we did a smoke maze where we were going through smoke. And let me tell you, when there's smoke and there's a fire, you can't see anything. You cannot see anything. Like, it's just, if it's black and it's just smoke, and you're trying to go find where the source of the fire is, yeah, you're not seeing anything. So what we did, we were like on the ground, crawling towards the hoses, because always in a fire you want to stay low, right? Because heat rises, and so also the smoke will rise and heat rises. If you're standing up, you're inside that heat. If you're down low, you're a bit protected, and as you know, the room fills up, that heat will slowly like start coming down, but you don't want to be right up there, right? So yeah, we were crawling through. We had 4 people in a team leader, and then we just crawling through. Team leader had a thermal imaging camera, and wow, it's really helpful actually to penetrate through the smoke. Like, I've never really used thermal imaging, but you can see like, yeah, like bodies, you can see that really clearly. Any warm objects, anything. We also use that on the doors, or like to see if they're hot or not, right? If it's hot, that means the other side of the door is like pretty hot, so we cool down the door before we go in. But the smoke maze, yeah, we just went through crawling on the knees. Firefighting is really hard on the knees, because a lot of things you do, like kneeling, you do crawling, right? You're always down low. So you can definitely like scrape up your knees or get bruises. So there's knee pads on the pants, but they don't help as much. And I guess if you like do firefighting for a living, you can maybe get some extra like knee extra padding for the knees, right? But the smoke maze was pretty interesting. We actually, like, I was second, so we had 4 people. We did like numbers every few meters. Like, we would just call out numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, make sure everyone is still following. And at one doorway, 2 of the members behind me, they got stuck. I'm not sure why, but because we had a smoke curtain on their doorway, and so I guess they maybe lost the hose or weren't sure if the smoke curtain was like something that they couldn't pass through. But yeah, they just couldn't pass the door. So our team leader, he went back, used the thermal vision camera, got them out, and we just crawled through. And I like a lot of at some parts I was like, oh shoot, when is this over? You know, when am I out of this smoke? And you could be in there for like quite a while with firefighting. Like, if a fire's not put out, you'll be in there. You'll be in there just like for a while fighting. But of course, you can change out if you're getting tired or anything. But yeah, it's serious business. You don't mess around, right? And so when we finally got out, I was so relieved to get that gear off. But it was cool because they had like burst pipes in some places, like obstacles. They had like ropes coiled up so that you might think that's the rope you're following, but you still gotta keep one hand on your line. And it was like a good simulation of what you might expect in an actual situation. And so today was the final, and we got to fight an actual actual fire, like bigger fires than the one we did like the first day. And we were shown like how hot like a fire is. We went into the simulation room where, let's say someone charged their phone under the pillow and the bed caught on fire. That's they just, because everything's controlled, so they turn on the gases and then they turn on the fire. They control the level of the fire. There's emergency stops, so everything's really safe. The instructors are always looking out for your safety because they really care. And so yeah, we went into that room and I could just feel like the heat on my eyeballs and the heat on my face. And they also could simulate like heat going across, like fire going across the ceiling, because that's what usually happens. Is the fire rises and has nowhere to go, but it will go across the ceiling because heat rises, right? And yeah, it was just so hot in there. Like you could just feel it, like radiating heat. And so today we actually went to go in and fight the fires, and we fought 2. We did a through door fire, and we did in down ladder fire. So the through door one, we just like switched out. We had like a one nozzleman, one backup, and the nozzleman just sprays, because there's actually like a lot, like there's like a lot of patterns on the nozzle that you can use for different situations. There's like different techniques. There's like penciling, there's like bursts of like a jet stream kind of water. There's like wide patterns for just too short. There's something called too short, one long, which is cooling. It's like you do too short up, like it's a wide like mist, so that it cools down the area, and then one long towards like the corner of like the room. And you're never really like going directly at the fire, but always kind of shooting at a 45-degree angle, like over the fire, so that like it kind of falls towards, like, but as you cool that area down, and then you might work your way towards the fire. But you want to make sure you some attack over the fire, and then you can like work at overhauling the fire once it's out. But yeah, the burn rooms were pretty interesting. It was just, yeah, you can feel the heat because we were pretty close to the fires we were fighting, and they were pretty well simulated. And we just kept on switching out. You go on oxygen, you go in, you be the backup first. Backup is like, holding that, and then you go switch out, become the nozzleman, and Yeah, the fire hoses are strong. Like there's a pretty good kick on those hoses when you fire them. So make sure you're holding on to that. So like what part of the hose under the armpit, and then you're holding the hose like with your dominant hand, using the other hand to like crank open the lever or close it. And so there's like different commands that the attack team leader will give you, and you're just, as a nozzleman, you're just following those directions. And the down ladder one, that was interesting. So because that fire was bigger, you go down the ladder and you got an oxygen tank on you, and you got this like the big like fire pans, big coat, right? So it's tight, our ladders on our ships through the hatches. So you're like right against the ladder while you're going down, and you're trying to like, sometimes you can get stuck actually if you don't shift your body enough, because your oxygen tank, right, is on your back, so you're like bigger than normal, right? So going down that is like pretty tight squeeze, and so you just got to make sure to not get stuck. And if you do get stuck, don't panic, just try to wiggle yourself out and you'll be fine. And so I make it down the ladder, I go in the room, and it's just all on fire. Everything is on fire. Like the flames are so hot, and it's like, I can feel it like going through the sides of like my hood. But luckily my mask was tight enough, so no smoke ingress. But yeah, we just go in, I'm back up, and I switch into nozzleman. I'm just like spraying the fire, like pencil, 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 and I'm penciling the fire. And then as we switch, I'm like, they're like too short, one long, too short, right up in the air, missed, switch the nozzle, and then one long, cool down the area, and then switch. And so after that, I go back up, and we have gloves, right? They're pretty thick, but I go back up and I'm holding the railing, and it's hot. Like it's warm. Like you can feel it. Like if I kept my hand on that, it would have felt pretty hot. So sometimes they do have the nozzleman cool down the railings for us. And I think when I was coming down, actually, someone was probably cooling on the railings, because I feel like a jet of water like came at me, and there was just like water dripping down my mask. So I think someone probably hit me with some water there. But yeah, going up, I just, so since the ladders were like, the steps were pretty cold, so I just like used that with the railings. And when you're coming down, you're gonna make sure that you're kicking the railings as you come down, because metal will melt at a certain temperature, right? And so you just gotta make sure that they're stable, and that you're not gonna step on it, it's just gonna collapse and you're gonna fall, right? But yeah, learned a lot from that. Once I got out of the burn room, that was pretty much it. We had a written exam. It was pretty easy as long as you listened in class, and also they taught us well enough that we, like, just going through the tests, we knew like the things. And then got a decently early day, but just afterwards taking off that gear, it was like refreshing to just, I was just so sweaty. I don't think I've sweat that much in my life. And yeah, I made sure to stay hydrated, because like if you didn't, you probably would have passed out. It's just gotta stay hydrated, keep drinking water, don't chug water like every few hours, just like every few like minutes, take small sips of water to make sure fluids are just flowing through your body. But overall, it was a good experience. I learned a lot, and next phase is the flood phase. So when I do that, I'll let you know how that is. But it should at least be better. Of course, it should at least not be as hot, right? It might be the opposite. It might be cold water coming in. But I think I'd take that over all the sweat from the heat. All right, that was the fire phase, and it's pretty cool. I'll see ya.